So last video we saw that how we can use the concepts of engineering mechanics in order to find the forces that are developed in this member AB and member BC because of this applied force of 30 kilonewton. And in this process, we saw that although the concepts of engineering mechanics is a first and necessary step to analyze a given structure, but they do not tell us whether the given load will be safely supported by the members or no. In other words, engineering mechanics or the concepts of engineering mechanics, it tells us how much will be the load that these members will carry, but it do not tell us whether the given load will be supported by these members or no. And then suppose say if we want this answer, that whether this members AB and BC will break for this given applied load, then in order to do that we require two more extra quantities which will be able to that will be able to understand whether these members will be able to withstand this given load or will it fail. And those two quantities are nothing but the cross sectional area and the material of which the rod is made up of. So this is what we'll be studying in this course MSOL. That is, we will be continuously will be checking whether the material will be able to sustain the applied load or no. And how we will do that? By taking the help of stress and strain. And for that purpose we will try to understand the concepts of stress in more detail. As we had seen last time, we in simple words what we said was stress is nothing but it is body's way of response to any kind of threat, right? Now in this case a body is nothing but our engineering object. I mean body is nothing but here in our case it is an object or some engineering material, and here the threat is nothing but the external force which is applied on it. Now once we apply some external force to this object, what will happen is because of this external applied force at any cross section, the resistance forces will be developed because this material will not easily give up to this external applied force, but what it will do is it will start to develop some resisting force which will resist this applied force P. And similarly if I take this section, same thing will happen. For this applied load P, there will be some resisting forces which will be developed on any given cross section. And the nature of this resisting force, I mean the direction of this resisting force, will be always to the opposite direction of the applied force. And this is nothing but we know that this comes from Newton's third law. All right, and then if I take now the resultant force of this all these resisting forces, and if I call the resultant force of all these resisting forces as R, here R is nothing but the resultant force of all the resisting forces. If R is the resultant force of all the resisting forces, then at this stage I can define the stress. I can define it as it is the resisting force per unit area. So stress, I can define stress as stress is nothing but it is resisting force per unit area. And which area is this now? This area is nothing but this area which is marked in red. All right, this entire area which is marked in red, I can name it as A. So resisting force per unit area, per unit cross sectional area, is nothing but stress, and this is the actual definition of stress. Now if I denote this stress with a symbol of say sigma, if I denote this stress with a symbol of sigma, and in fact this is the symbol which we'll be using to denote one particular type of stress. and this stress I can put it as, now resisting force is R here, the resultant resisting force is R, divided by cross sectional area is A. So sigma equal to R by A is the definition of stress here in this case. All right, now what will happen is, you know that because of Newton's third law, the resisting force will be always equal to the applied force, or at least in this case it will be equal to the applied force. All right, the resultant resisting force R, which is developed in this case, will be equal to the applied force P. So in this case R will be equal to P, and that is why I can replace this R here with P. So this is the definition of stress. So stress I can call it as P by A. All right, because in this case it turns out that the resultant resisting force R will be equal to the applied force P, and that is why I can further simplify this definition of stress, or the expression of stress, as sigma is equal to P by A. Now in this case what has happened is, this resisting force which are developed are perpendicular to this cross sectional area. If you look here, observe carefully, these resisting forces will be perpendicular to this cross sectional area. All right, it will be perpendicular to this, cross sectional area. And if this is the case, if the resisting force is perpendicular to the cross sectional area, then the stresses which are developed can be also called as normal stresses. The stresses which are developed can be called as normal stresses. So normal stresses are those stresses in which the resisting forces are perpendicular to the cross sectional area. In that case, this kind of stresses will be called as normal stress. All right, now let us see now and also let me again remind you that this resultant force we have obtained by assuming that the stresses which is acting here are the average stresses. So next we will see what is stress at a point. So for this what I will do is, I'll just erase this from here, and let us see what are stresses at a point. By the way, again, just let me just remind you that the normal stress will be henceforth given with this expression sigma equal to P by A, and the units of this stress will be force. The applied forces will be given in terms of Newton, and the area, if we are taking it in terms of meter square, then the unit of stress will be unit of stress will be Newton per meter square, or this quantity Newton per meter square can be also called as pascals. And suppose, say, the force is in terms of Newton and the area turns out to be in terms of mm square, then this can be also written in terms of megapascals, because this mm square, if I want to convert it in terms of meter square, it will be 10 to the power minus 6, and if I take it on top, it will become 10 to the power plus 6. So 10 to the power plus 6 I can write it as mega, and this will be again Pascal, so I can write it as megapascals. So this will be the unit of stress, either in terms of pascals or Newton per meter square or Newton per mm square, or which is same as megapascals. So this will be the units of stress. Truly speaking, the expression which we had obtained here is for average stress. But this might not be true in all the cases. For example, if I apply the force P here, and this cross section which we have taken is very close to this applied force P, then what will happen is, the stresses will not remain same at all the points. And if I consider all the points, the way in this case the resisting forces were developed were same at all the points. But if this cross sectional area is very close to this applied force P, then what will happen is, the resisting force will change from point to point. All right, the resisting force will change from point to point. And if I take one typical area, if I take one small typical area, if I take one small area, all right, and if I say the resisting force on this small area is, suppose, say delta r, and this small area I will consider it to be delta a. All right, so what I have done is I have considered one small area delta a, and I have considered a small resisting force delta r. Now in this case, the stress at this point can be defined as stress is nothing but delta r by delta a, that is small resisting force by small resisting area, as limit delta a tends to 0. All right, so what this expression means is that, see, these are small quantities delta r and delta a, and as delta a tends to 0, that means as this delta a, this small area will become smaller and smaller as it is tending to 0. It is not equal to 0, let me remind you, it is tending to 0. That means it will converge to a point. So this is the actual definition of stress, that is stress at a point, and this is the definition of average stress. But in this course mostly we will be considering the simple will be considering simple members like bars and beam, and we will be calculating the stresses away from the applied forces, and that is why in this course this expression will be very much valid rather than this. So this is the actual expression, that is stress at a point, but we won't be using this expression in this course, that is mechanics of solid, very frequently. But the expression which we'll be using is this. So this is the expression which we'll be using very frequently to calculate normal stress. So sigma equal to P by A is the expression which we'll be using to calculate normal stress in this course. All right, so this was all about normal stress or stress at a point. But there can be one more kind of stress which may act in a material or in an object. See, in this case the resisting forces which were developed were exactly perpendicular to this cross sectional area, right? And that is why, since it was normal to the cross sectional area, we called this kind of stress which were developed as normal stress. But what about this case now? But what about this case? Now if I consider this bolt, if I draw it here again, if I consider this bolt, all right, what I have done is I have drawn only this part. I have drawn only this part here. Now to draw a three-dimensional figure of it, it will be somewhat like this, right? It will be somewhat like this, and then here the forces are acting in this direction, right? It is, this plate is trying to pull this half of the bolt in this direction, whereas this plate is trying to pull this part of the bolt in this direction. That means the forces are acting in this direction and in this direction. And then again, if I consider a one typical cross section of this bolt, then the resisting forces which will be developed on this cross section will not be exactly in this fashion. But what will happen is, if I draw this section here separately, if I try to draw this section here separately like this, I'm drawing the bottom half of this section. All right, I'm drawing the bottom half of this section, and then if I draw it this way, now the applied force is in this direction for bottom half, right? So what will be the resisting force now? In which direction will be the resisting force? As we know, the resisting force is always in the opposite direction, so resisting force will be developed in this direction. The resisting force will be developed in this direction, right? In this direction resisting forces will be developed, and if I take the resultant of this resisting force as R, all right, and on the top half, again same thing will happen. On this top half also same thing will happen. Because of this applied force, the resisting force will be developed this side, whereas for bottom half, because of this force, the resisting force will be developed this side. In case of normal loading, the resisting forces were developed this in upward and downward direction, exactly opposite to the applied forces, right? Similarly here also the resisting forces will be developed, but now in this case the resisting forces will not be perpendicular to the cross section, but it will be along the cross section, as we can see here clearly. In order to resist this applied forces, the resisting forces are not getting developed perpendicular to the cross section in this direction, not it won't be in this direction, but the resisting forces will be in this direction and in this direction, right? For this applied forces, P and this applied force P, the resisting forces will be developed this side and this side. So even then the stresses will be developed on this cross section, and this type of stresses wherein the resisting forces are along the cross section. So if the resisting forces is developed along or parallel to the cross section, if the resisting forces are developed along or parallel to cross sectional area, then the stress is developed. Then in this case the stress which will be developed will be, again by definition it will be same, R by A, wherein R is this resisting force and A is this cross sectional area, R by A. And this kind of stresses will be called as shear stress, wherein what are shear stresses? Shear stresses are the stresses which are developed because of the resisting forces which gets generated along the cross section or parallel to the cross section, and this is again given by R by A. And even in this case the resisting forces will be equal to the applied force, so therefore R can be written as P by A. The way normal stress was denoted by sigma, similarly shear stresses are denoted by tau, and this will be again given as P by A, right? So basically the expression for shear stress as well as normal stress turns out to be same, but the nature of the stresses are different, and again here unit will be Newton per mm square or megapascals or Newton per meter square or pascals. So we saw now two types of stresses. One is normal stress, which is given as sigma is equal to P by A, and the second stress which we saw is shear stress, which is denoted by tau, and this will be P by A. Now what will be the effect of this normal stress? Normal stresses are developed to resist the tensile forces or to resist the compressive forces, basically to resist the axial forces. Now if I try to apply the force in this direction, this kind of forces are called as tensile forces, wherein it is trying to pull this object or it is trying to pull this material. So the normal stresses further can be classified as tensile stress, and it can be classified as compressive stress. So normal stresses can be classified as tensile stress and compressive stress. Now when it will be a tensile stress, if the component is subjected to axial forces, but the forces are acting in outward direction. That means it is trying to elongate this bar or it is trying to expand this bar in this direction. So in this case, whatever the stresses will be developed inside this material will be called as tensile stress, whereas if the material is subjected to compressive forces, say compressive forces in this direction, now these forces will try to compress this material. So to resist this compression, whatever stresses that will be developed will be called as compressive stress. Fine. So both tensile stress as well as compressive stress are the type of normal stresses. All right, both tensile as well as compressive stress will be the type of normal stresses. One resists the compression of the material, one resists the expansion or extension of the material. Both are under normal stresses. Whereas what is the role of shear stress when the shear stresses are developed? If the forces are acting in shear direction, or if the resistance is developed along the plane or parallel to the plane, in that case there will be stresses which will be developed in this material, will be called as shear stresses. Basically here it is trying to shear this material, or shear meaning it is trying to cut this material into two halves. The role of this force here will be to cut this material here, into two halves, into this half and into this half. So that is why the stresses developed here are called as shear stresses, which will resist the shearing of the material. But here what normal stresses will do, it will resist the compression of the material, or it will resist the extension of the material. But shear stresses are developed to resist the shearing or cutting of the material. So if you come across any types of stresses in this course, or later on in machine design, or later on any courses, those stresses will be either whatever, irrespective of what is their name, whether it is bearing stress or any kind of stress, it will be either a shear stress or it will be a normal stress. So the stresses can be broadly classified as normal stress, or it will be shear stress, irrespective of any other names. Whether you come across bearing stress, or you come across bending stress, or you come across twisting stress or torsion, or stresses developed due to torsion, they all will come either under normal stress or they will come under shear stress. So these are the two types of major stresses which can be developed inside the material because of the external applied force. All right. So basically, then if someone asks you, what about pressure is also defined as force per unit area. Then even this unit of this pressure is nothing but Newton per meter square. So what is the difference between this pressure and this stress? Are they same? Because the unit turns out to be same. So are they same or are they different? And your answer should be very clear. You should clearly be able to say that these both quantities are different. Pressure gets generated because of the external applied force. All right, if I'm applying some force here, and then if I on this surface I can calculate what is pressure. But what are stresses are developed because of resisting forces and not because of the applied forces. In this case it turns out that the resisting force is equal to the applied force, but the stresses is clearly a phenomenon which occurs because of resisting force, whereas pressure is something which occurs because of applied force on the surface. All right, and pressure is for a given force, the pressure is and the given area, the pressure always remains same. All right, so this is the basic difference between pressure and stress.